Well, we're just 1 month removed from the Ohio State Buckeyes beating the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, but the football calendar does not stop. Next week is a huge week for all of the departing Ohio State Buckeyes as they head to Indianapolis to go to the NFL Combine and put their skills on display for all 32 NFL teams. The Ohio State Buckeyes are leading the way with 15 invitees to the Combine in Indy. It's going to be an exciting week for all those players and for Ohio State fans all around. We dive into it all on this episode of the Buckeye Breakdown Podcast.
We've got the whole crew together as we cover Ohio State with our instant analysis from Ohio State.
There's something that doesn't feel right.
Unbelievable effort from him today. Is E.J. Liddell going to crack the first team All Big Ten?
I think he can be the guy. I'm not trying to start a quarterback controversy.
He seems to have the durability. He certainly has the toughness. This is the question on a lot of people's minds here. Welcome to Buckeye Breakdown.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Buckeye Breakdown Podcast. Anthony Moeglin here alongside my partner, Kevin Woidke. And Kevin, it's a feel-good Friday, a couple days, I guess, before the NFL Combine. It's an exciting time for all the Buckeyes who are going to no longer be Buckeyes, but are going to head to Indianapolis to put their talents, their skills, and all their measurables on display in Indianapolis in the NFL Combine. We'll dive into a lot of that Combine-specific stuff here in a little bit, but I first want to start, Kev. We were talking about it just a little bit ago before we started recording here, and everyone just raves about Indianapolis. It's not easy to go to a Midwest city in February and get good weather. You're not going to get it, but everybody loves going to Indianapolis. You've spent a lot of time there, a few Big Ten championships in your days as a Buckeye. You say you love the city. What's so cool about Indianapolis, and what makes it such a perfect spot for something like this to take place?
You know, it's a really cool spot. There's a lot of different chain restaurants in Indy. That's like kind of how they specialize. You got Permane Brothers from Pittsburgh. You got Lou Malnati's from Chicago. That's one cool atmosphere or one cool aspect. Another really cool thing about Indy is just the city itself. I mean, just the difference. There's just kind of how the city moves. My favorite place, St. Elmo's Steakhouse, phenomenal. My parents went there with my brother, sister, and whoever we invited every year to the Big Ten Championship. They'd go there before the game, hang out. Had a blast there. And then, you know, I visited Butler. It's the other thing. There's a few good colleges in Indy. Visit Butler when I was looking at schools. It's just a really cool kind of town and easy to get to.
Spoken like a true offensive tackle. I said, what's great about the city? You're like, all the good food spots, baby. We go Permane's, we go St. Elmo's. All right, what's your cut of steak? It's a perfect night. You're out with the boys. Dollars don't mean anything. What are you getting, and how are you getting it cooked?
Oh, I'm gonna get a filet, 12 ounces, medium rare, side of cream corn, one of the Elmo's Cokes, followed by their bourbon butter cake for dessert, and then a French onion soup as well.
Ooh, baby, that doesn't sound all that bad as we sit here on a cold, bitter Friday. And Kev, talking more specifically about the football side of things. This week for Ohio State, for all the former Buckeyes, is going to be a big one. And in Ohio State, it came out last week, but they lead the country obviously in attendees to the Combine. They got a good plethora of guys going from both sides of the football, obviously starting with quarterback Will Howard, then going in the backfield, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins are going to be in attendance, wide receiver Emeka Egbuka, and then the guys up front, Donovan Jackson, Seth McLaughlin, and Josh Simmons, all will be representing the Buckeyes on the offensive side of the ball. On the flip side of things, on defense, Ty Hamilton, Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, and Tyleik Williams are going to be there for the Bucs up front, and then linebacker Cody Simon, and then defensive backs Denzel Burke, Lathan Ransom, and Jordan Hancock will all be there representing Ohio State. And Kev, you experienced it. Obviously, I didn't go to the Combine. You didn't participate in the Combine, but a lot of your former teammates did. Know a little bit about it. What's kind of the vibe for these guys as they get their mindset on this? Because it's not make or break. And I think a lot of these like workouts and things are kind of trivial, but NFL scouts do take them all into account, and it's a big week for a lot of these players.
No, it is. They do a great job of. I mean, we always had it on in the locker room. These guys, a lot of these guys came back that probably wouldn't have been invited last year.
Yeah.
Just calling a spade a spade. You got a few different people that are, how do I phrase it, that earn the right to do this and win a national championship. Got some of those there that were on the bubble, and they said they're national champion, we'll send them. I had a lot of teammates we'd watch. Like I said, we watched the locker room. We look like if we were working out, they were working, they were doing their stuff. And then Pro Day came in later on, but we'll probably touch on that when that comes up, I assume. It's a cool atmosphere to have around the facility because you're actually, these guys on a personal level and you're watching them compete on a stage that the whole sports world stops for every year.
Yeah, dive into that a little bit more because I think that part, I don't think it gets lost because I think some of the passionate fans see that type of stuff. But for you guys as teammates, put yourself back in the sophomore year, Kevin, or the junior year, or even the senior year, and you're in a tough spot right now. It's February. You're in the dog days, I guess, of the wintertime workouts, right? It's tough. You got mat drills. We saw some pictures surface the other day of the guys kind of getting after it. And it's a tough part of the offseason. But this is one where not only is it exciting to watch your former teammates perform and do it on the biggest stage, but it's also like a goal for everybody, right? I want to be there next year. And that's kind of the bar and stuff. So I bet it's pretty cool watching them probably on the big screen in the meeting rooms and whatnot, wherever you guys did all that.
Yeah, no, there wasn't anything for it. Was just you're laying down after a winter workout, you're exhausted, you're on the floor of the locker room, and you're looking up, and then I remember vividly there was Eli Apple running, and then a few years later Jerome Baker running, and a few years later it was just constantly turning over, really cool, watching people compete, and then I'd go home and watch it myself because the lineman stuff wasn't really always on in the mornings. But in econ class, don't tell my dad that. Put my phone out, just ripping some combine, just watching the guys that I sat through, the tongue lashings, the highs, the lows with, go out and try and pursue their dreams.
It's really well said, and it's a really cool time for the future Buckeyes who are going to be in the NFL. It's a great time for these guys getting the opportunity to show their worth. And like we said, the Ohio State, is well represented on both sides of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, you got quarterback Will Howard. You got both your running backs, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, wide receiver Emeka Ibuka, and then up front, Kev, Donovan Jackson, Seth McLaughlin, Josh Simmons. And this is more anecdotal from my side of things. Got to talk to Seth McLaughlin, and this was months ago, right down on the sidelines. He was kind of wheeling around, and I just asked him, hey, how's it look in terms of timeline? He said, I should be good for the combine. And it's exciting to see him coming off a major injury. And I don't know if that's still the case or whatever he can do because he obviously had a major injury. But, you don't know what he's going to be able to do. Maybe he can do some bench pressing. Maybe he can do some of that stuff. But Donovan Jackson obviously catapulted his way catapulted his stock through the roof by playing left tackle at the rate that he did. And Josh Simmons is widely regarded as a top 15 pick, especially if he wouldn't have gotten injured. And I'm certain that he's still going to be a first rounder. So from an offensive line perspective, Kevin, I know like the big workout is the bench press. That ultimately doesn't mean anything. What are some of the skills that they put on display that are going to be meaningful when fans at home are watching the combine here in the next week?
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about it, you have the 3-cone drill and the pro shuttle are two big ones. The only time it matters about a lineman's 40 is when there's a pick and they got to chase down the DB.
I'm going to jump in right there. I am in the camp, and I bet you're going to agree with me. I don't want my lineman running after that. It all just leads to injuries, dude. Like, if you get out, you're chasing, I'm like, it's on the quarterback's fault. Go make the freaking tackle or let up a pick six, dude. That's what it's got to be. You can't be doing that stuff.
No, that's when we actually get a chance to tackle people. We light up. I mean, it blows, but that's just what is going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not fun, but it'll be. I don't even know how to phrase it. It will.
You get your chance at a little.
Yeah, we enjoy it. We get a chance to flip over to defense, and I remember watching Joel Petonio chase down a kick 6 against the Falcons.
Yeah.
See the clip of Jack Conklin against Oregon leveling that DB. You see these wide receivers, you see these running backs get manhandled by guys that are your size that are just running free and clear.
Mm-hmm.
All I get to do all day is hit a bunch of guys that are 300 pounds. I'd love to. That was one of my favorite things, is the chance to hit someone who's 180.
Right. Hey, more picks. You would have loved playing for me because I threw a shitload of picks. Excuse me, I threw a ton of picks.
No, it was fun, but in reality, the pro shuttle and the 3-cone, because a lot of pulling guards, blocking is done within that 5 years. The pro shuttle especially, but it's more of the last part of the pro shuttle. Once they make that turn down and come back out of it, or not the 3-cone, not the pro shuttle. The 3-cone is where they're imagine them rounding the edge on a toss. They pull on a toss or pull on a power or pull on a reverse. That's where you see that athleticism. That's where you see that speed. And then pro shuttle, it's that quick back and forth. If they're coming across to kick somebody out, that's where you're going to see that more from a lineman. And then the drills, especially the individual drills. Everyone knows the wide receiver one where they run down the middle of the field and they turn left and right. There's a lot of stuff with the bags that no one really watches unless they're like me or Baldy or whoever. That's about it. And that's the part that really makes the biggest difference for these linemen. And then that's why you see them do it again during pro day, because that's the only way we can emulate it. You can see if a guy can catch. You can see if a guy can run from throwing passes to him. That's the important part. But when it comes to actually physically, or cover for that matter, just talking about offense right now, but when it comes to offense and defensive line play, it's very hard to simulate it without a live game.
Yeah, and we saw a number of those skills on display last year. I think back to some of the games when Ohio State got into a lot of that gap scheme stuff, where we started getting those poolers going around, and that's where you see all those skills. It's funny, you're going to watch them on cones, and you're like, what does this even mean? And then you see it on tape, you're like, oh, I've seen that move before, or that looks familiar. So it's really important for a lot of those guys. Those are some of the more specific ones. 2 questions for you on the spot. What was your bench press? What was your max bench? What did you do back in the day in your prime?
I think my max repped out was 225. We always repped out 225. I think the most I ever did was 18 reps. And then my pro shuttle, this is a funny story. Coach Alford and Coach Smith were the ones timing it. And they were shocked at the time I posted. I think I posted a 4.64.
Okay.
And they both thought that they were wrong. And Coach Alford just made a comment like, no wasted motion, no wasted movement, I guess.
You said, Coach, put me on the field now. Come on.
Yeah, let me run out there. But no, those were my 2. And then just every year I increased everything. We didn't do a lot of bench in high school, so I was a little bit behind on that. But it was just me and Draymond both. But it was, those were my. I didn't get a chance to do a pro day due to COVID, but those would have been my probably stats at the pro day as well.
Yeah, that's awesome there. I'd have drafted you, Kev. Don't let anybody tell you differently. Also on offense,
I hate broad jump. Broad jump is the worst thing they do.
It doesn't make sense. Why do they do it?
It's some explosiveness. I think it's dumb. I was so bad at it. When people
it's another opportunity to sell a sponsorship, right? There you go. Yeah, it's the Mountain Dew broad jump or whatever it may be. Also on offense, Will Howard's going to be competing for the Buckeyes. Travion, Quinshawn, and Emeka. I think that it's a big day. It's not a make or break day for quarterbacks, but it'll be a nice day for Will Howard, who's trying to get his name out of that second tier and into that first tier of guys. He's going to be able to compete with the likes of Jackson Dart. Obviously, Kyle McCord is going to be in there, going to have his name in the mix. I don't expect Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward to work out. They'll wait for their pro days, but it'll be nice to see Will Howard get in there and throw some balls. It's always tough, and this is just speaking from a quarterback perspective. When you start doing those drills with new wide receivers and they start doing the routes on air, even though it is routes on air, you have zero chemistry with these guys. You don't know how they run their routes, so it's really hard to take stock in a lot of that type of stuff. But it'll be good to see Will get out there and spin it. And then Travion and Quinshon, just their big thing is be strong, be explosive, and be smooth. Whenever the ball's in their hands, be smooth with their cuts, be in and out. 40s are big for both those two and Emeka, as well as the shuttle. I think the shuttle is even more important because, I think we know their breakaway speed. What will separate them is how quick they can get in and out, right? It's about quickness and a lot of that stuff. So it'll be really good. And then seeing Emeka do all the wide receiver drills, it's going to be really fun to see because I don't think it's a secret to anybody watching this show. It's certainly not a secret to you and I. This guy's hands are second to none, and it'll be cool to see him on display with no defenders around him, no nothing. Hopefully, get out there and make some big plays. All right, on the defensive side of things, I think there's a couple things I want to call out here. Your whole starting front four is going to be there. Ty Hamilton, Tyleik Williams from your interior, Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, your two edges, and then Cody Simon, from linebacker, and then your three DBs, Denzel Burke, Jordan Hancock, Lathan Ransom. Kev, I look at that list and I'm like, holy cow. We talked about it earlier in the week. Ohio State has a lot to replace on defense. Like that's 8 guys on defense that were like not only bona fide starters, they're leaders of the team, they were star players, and Ohio State just turned it back just for a second. Replacing your entire defensive line is going to be a massive challenge.
It will be. These guys are who I was talking about. I'd say Will Howard and probably Seth McLaughlin on the offensive side of the ball were teetering on if they were going to get invites or not. And then these guys as well. I don't think at the end of last year Jack Sawyer was getting an invite. I don't think at the end of last year Jordan Hancock was getting an invite, or not Tyleik. Tyleik was. I think JTT was at the end of last year. But this year, I think Jack Sawyer outplayed JTT. But Ty Hamilton wasn't getting it. That's just how breaking down the set amount of numbers that they had. I don't think they've earned it. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, they shouldn't be there. All of them should be there. They've all absolutely earned it. It's just incredible. These guys were like, they had the choice. Either run the risk of being a 3rd round pick at best for some of them, and because they aren't going to the combine, and just have a great pro day and hope it bumps you up a few rounds from like 6th to 3rd. But no, we're going to come back. We're going to win a championship. And we're going, and now they're looking at, people are talking about Tyleik, Jack, and JTT all going in the 1st round. I don't know if that'll happen. Who knows? But I think Tyleik is a perennial 1st rounder. He's the best defensive tackle in the country. I think he's going to show it here that he's got the strength to do it at the next level. Imagine how much better he's going to be when they actually throw flags for holding. And then Jack Sawyer, he dominated. It's going to be incredible to watch them perform to hopefully cement them on the first Thursday of the draft, getting their names called.
Dude, you from what we watched all year long, you take any one of these 4 guys at any point, you're like, yeah, it's a good pick. Like, I don't care if it's top 15, top 10, even, you don't know, but throughout that 1st round, like if any of these guys go, I wouldn't question it. Like all these guys can be stalwarts on your front and can change games. We saw the importance in the Super Bowl of a dominant defensive line. And, that's what guess what? Everyone's going to be modeling the Chiefs, the Eagles. Like, how did they beat the Chiefs? Well, they got home with 4. And it's going to be, how can we build our defensive lines to get home with 4? And a good place to start would be hey, call Columbus. You can call one of these 4 guys because these dudes are my favorite term, glass eaters, man. They are tough as nails. They get after the quarterback. They play with unbelievable energy and like relentless pursuit, which is awesome. And then Kev, Cody Simon, a big day for him. I think that this is a guy who Ohio State fans for sure fell in love with. And for a great reason, great leadership. Obviously, it kind of falls in that category too of improving his stock, improving his worth. But a big day for him. Linebacker is one of those positions that, it feels like there's a lot of turnover in the league. You don't see a lot of guys play long careers anymore. And I think this is a great opportunity for Cody to show scouts that, hey, I can go. I wasn't just good because I played behind the best defensive line in college football. I'm a great player. I'm a great leader, and I have all the tools necessary to be a difference maker at the next level.
Yeah, that's the part of the combine that we haven't touched on that not only we talk about is the interview part too. Mm-hmm. And a lot of teams are going to learn a lot about some of these guys, and especially Cody Simon. I mean, he was the leader. He was everybody and their mother called him the heart and soul of this defense. And then he showed it. I mean, he played unbelievable. He had a nose for the football. He was shedding blocks. They're going to watch his tape. They're going to think back to these interview questions, which everyone knows are absolutely absurd. And then if he can put up numbers that warrant a first or second round pick, I mean, he is a phenomenal talent. I don't know if he'll be a Thursday guy. I'm assuming he'll be a Friday guy, but I'm not 100% sure on either. I think he's definitely by the end of Friday will be off the board, but I could see him going as early as a late first round pick. If they have a defense that the only thing they need is a guy in the middle to lead them, they have the rest of it. I could totally see a team taking a chance on Cody Simon if he puts up numbers that are warranting a first round linebacker.
And imagine if he does fall to be a Friday type of guy. I mean, if he falls to a situation where maybe he doesn't have to step in right away, and like I'm thinking a situation like Baltimore where you have a couple guys, you have a Roquan who he can learn underneath. You have some guys, Patrick Queen in Pittsburgh. Like where can he get into a good spot where it's like, hey, I don't need you on day one, but hey, if there's an injury, we can plug in a great player, or down the line, you're a succession plan where you could be the guy for the next couple of years moving forward. It'll definitely be exciting, and he'll certainly put his stamp on who he is and how he can improve an NFL franchise. And then our final 3 guys on the back end: Denzel Burke, Jordan Hancock, Lathan Ransom. Huge opportunities for these 3 as well. I think that Denzel's the biggest one here. I think. We talked about guys who improved their stock this year. There's one guy that probably fell back a little bit. And if he had gone out last year, you're thinking, oh, this is a dude. He kind of came back down to earth a little bit. And we say that we kind of got lost. I certainly did. Got lost in this defense is amazing. And we're comparing him to like really good play. And he maybe not holding up to that, but good opportunity for a guy like Denzel to prove himself as well. And then Lathan and Jordan on the back end. Hey, show that, hey, we can go. We can be difference makers.
Yeah, I mean, Denzel, I think he had maybe 2 or 3 penalties this year, but I mean, that's what's going to happen. He wasn't letting up. He wasn't getting penalties, and he was letting up some passes. But, I mean, if he puts up numbers, I think an NFL team's going to look at it like, what kind of went on here? Like, he just didn't mesh well in the Knowles defense. It just – for some reason, it didn't work because he was a standout guy his freshman year. Who was his coach? Kerry Combs?
Yeah.
And then they let go of Kerry Combs, brought in Jim Knowles, and he played for the next 3 years in the Jim Knowles defense. And it seemed like he kind of took a step. He was a top-tier DB, top-tier corner his freshman year. And I think it was just the scheme he was in wasn't what he liked being in. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where an NFL team is going to be like, okay, let's get this guy in the right fit. Let's get him in the right scheme. Let's not change stuff around. It's one thing. That's what he's going to do. Let's make him – he could be a phenomenal slot. He could be a phenomenal edge guy on Sundays. I think him and – I mean, the other one you got to talk about is Jordan Hancock. I mean, he's playing for – Lathan Ransom is one of – if you don't think he's one of the best safeties in college football, you don't know what football is. Like, you want to talk about you want to talk about people being ball knowers and not ball knowers, just ask them, where does Lathan Ransom fall in college football?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reality situation. I think he'll be one of the top 3 safeties off the board,
Yeah.
if not first. I think that him playing next to Caleb Downs got overshadowed a lot, but he had some unbelievable plays. Now, I don't watch the all-22s. I don't know if he blew some coverages. Who knows? But I could totally see him, because that's the one thing the NFL lacks is guys. There's the Minkah Fitzpatricks. There's the Kyle Hamiltons of the world that'll come up and make a hit. I don't know many outside the NFC North. I mean, you got Blankenship, you got Harrison Smith. Maybe there are, actually.
Yeah.
There more and more coming. But there's some teams that want that guy. There's a lot of teams out there that want that guy that don't have it.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the Dolphins. But I just think that those two, I mean, Lathan Ransom's got it dialed in, but Jordan Hancock and Denzel are going to be 2 guys you're going to want to watch to have great numbers. And then in their pro day, hopefully replicate it, because that can be the determinant if they're a Friday or Saturday guy. And who knows? Maybe Denzel's a Friday guy or a Thursday guy. But after this year and how he performed, granted, he was targeted more because if they threw it at Igbenogany, they run the risk of it getting batted down at the flag being thrown. But it was kind of how they chose to do it. And if you take the Oregon game out, no one really has a problem with Denzel Burke this year. But it sounds like from when he's talking, when other players are talking, that was kind of a behind-the-scenes issue with how they decided to game plan. But, I mean, and that's what if you throw 100 plays into a kid's head that
it's tough, man.
With run, that's very, very hard. Like you can capture plays, but we ran the same plays all the time, because it would be the same play for me would be 3 variations for the receivers, but for me it was the same thing every time. 60 protection, whatever it was, but that's where I feel for the guy.
Keep it the thing that sticks in my mind is the KISS acronym. Keep it simple, stupid. Like that's what it's got to be all throughout the football. But it'll be really interesting for both sides of the ball. All 15 of those guys have a really good opportunity come next week to make a name for themselves. And what's this schedule going to look like for everybody watching at home? So each position group basically gets 5 days in Indy, and it's all kind of split up between like your orientation kind of registration days. Then you do your medical exams. Then you do all the interviews, all that type of stuff with the teams. Then you get on the field, you do your measurements, you do your on-field workouts, and then the final day is a few more workouts. So starting the week off, the D linemen and linebackers will get things going. They'll get to Indianapolis on Sunday, and they'll be there through Friday finishing up with bench press. They'll do some live media interviews on TV, and then they'll get out of town. And then the next group is the defensive backs and the tight ends. They arrive on Monday. They start their examination and everything on Tuesday. They get out of town on Saturday after their final day is bench press, TV interviews, and then they get out. The third group is running backs, quarterbacks, wide receivers. They don't start till Wednesday. All right. They don't start till Wednesday. And if there's a day that you're looking to like, hey, I want to sit down and I want to watch it, it's Saturday. Saturday afternoon, the running backs, quarterbacks, and receivers will be doing their on-field workout. So that'll be the fun day if you're looking to watch something on TV. And then the final grouping is the offensive linemen. They don't get to Indianapolis until Wednesday of next week. Their workouts start on Thursday. They last through Sunday before they get out of town. So everyone's kind of split up in their different ways, and they go through their stuff, obviously with their groups here. So it'll be full of Buckeyes. There's going to be a Buckeye represented every single day. The 26th, 27th, and 28th will be the highlight guys. Will be Tyleik Hamilton, Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, and Cody Simon. The next group: Denzel Burke, Lathan Ransom, Jordan Hancock. The February 28th through March the 2nd will be Will Howard, Travion, Quinshawn, and Emeka. And then the final grouping from March 1st to March 3rd will be Donovan Jackson, Seth McLaughlin, and Josh Simmons. So a full week full of Buckeyes. And Kev, as we get out of here, we put a wrap on this one. You talk about a lot of the positives and things from the combine here, but there's one thing you're keeping your eye on with our guys. What is it? What's a guy that you're looking to get the most out of? Who would you have your eye on if you're a fan of these Buckeyes?
Yeah, I'm looking at JTT. I'm looking at Cody Simon that we talked about. I'm looking at Quinshon on the offensive side of the ball, and Will Howard to see how he performs against these other quarterbacks. The other thing that people don't realize is these guys are up at 3:00 every morning, 3 a.m. every morning for their medical exam, followed by their interviews, and this is a full day thing. So they're not really having, this is like camp all over again, but even worse. Like they're getting the most invasive medical exam of their life on whatever day they have to do it. And that's at like 5 a.m. And that's what's absolutely crazy. They're also learning playbooks because at these interviews, some of these teams sent them playbooks to learn and see if they're able to do it. And that's just certain teams like do that interview process. So if you see guys like a little bit off or they look a little bit like they got a distant stare in their eyes, it's because they're exhausted. And that's what they want. They want to see how these guys perform when they're at their absolute tired, when they've played a 17-game season plus 4 playoff games. And that's what they want to see. They want to emulate that to see if they perform, how they perform when they're absolutely exhausted. So that'll be interesting to watch. And that's a part that not a lot of people realize about the combine. But it's something to look at. Like that's why Lamar Jackson fell all the way to the Ravens, and when we had a chance to get him 2-time Heisman finalist, 1-time winner. I can't get over that.
Can't get over.
But no, that's something that I would say those guys, and then that's something else to notice is when you see guys that are expected to perform well and don't, might be a reason why, is they are absolutely exhausted. And I think my screen just told me it's time to go.
It's a really good point. Before we get out of here, putting you on the hot seat. If you were a kitchen utensil, what would you be?
That's a good one. I have no idea. I don't know what kind of question.
I just looked up crazy NFL Combine interview questions, and that was one of them. So there we go. Spatula?
I don't know.
Fork. Well, probably a spoon. You can do everything with a spoon. You can cut stuff you can eat cereal. You can eat. If I had to. Yeah.
Spatula. I feel like that's the good lineman answer.
There you go.
Flatten stuff and lift it up.
You just win. I'll flatten you and pick you up. That's that. We're getting out of here on that one. No, really exciting week for Ohio State coming up next week. Obviously, we'll be right here along with you. Any breaking news that happens, anything that we hear, we'll obviously talk about. It'll be really cool to hear the storylines. Obviously, this is when all the media and all of the coaches and GMs and everybody from a front office get into one place. So it's this big melting pot of news stories. So anything relevant that comes out, we'll obviously be talking about it here. So hit that subscribe button. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us on Twitter, make sure you're following. Get over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. But we also have a bunch more content going to be coming your way over at our site, si.com/college/Ohio State. That ticker is going to roll right underneath us here. So head over there. Our team's working really hard over on that side of things to keep it full of content for you. So appreciate you hanging out with us tonight as we get you set for the NFL Combine next week. And we'll be back for a full week of coverage here, the Ohio State Buckeyes on SI YouTube channel.